Putuwami, and welcome to the first series after a long time. Two Sundays, first series after 2 Sundays, and this one is called The Counesllor. And today's focus was on why are you so afraid? The fear question, big one today. So we really enjoyed that this morning. But first and foremost, before we get to the finer details of the fear, what is a counsellor, or who is the counsellor?
Molo Siswam.
Molo Pudwa.
I have to start like that. So the counsellor, counselling is a very important part of what we do. So I think we focus a lot on formal counselling. So when you speak about a counsellor, you think about a specific person who's trained, qualified, maybe like a psychologist or a Christian counsellor or whatever. But there is a lot of counselling that happens all the time. So within family, within friend circles, there's counselling.
Yeah.
It is being there, listening, and showing that you actually care and you want to help. It's offering a different perspective, and it's allowing that person to talk through what they are experiencing, what they're thinking, what they're going through. So that's counseling.
Okay.
But who's the counsellor? Isaiah 9 verse 6. We quote that verse a lot at Christmas time, and it's like only 11 Saturdays till Christmas, so it's around the corner. Isaiah 9 verse 6 speaks about the Lord. So it's a prophecy from Isaiah. It's like 800 years before Christ.
Okay.
And he says, the wonderful counselor.
Sure.
So when Christ was on earth, a lot of what he did was he gave a different dimension to that interaction. So people would ask, and he wouldn't be like the philosophers and the whatevers and just give these like vague answers that nobody understands, whatever. He would often respond with a penetrating question. So you come to me with a problem, you ask, what must I do? And I ask you the right question. And he asked over 100 questions in the Gospels.
Sure.
So as the counselor, that's what the focus is on. It's on the Lord as our counselor, and then to look at the questions that he asked, which were just spot on. They were the right question at the right time, to the right people, for the right purpose, to achieve the right result. And that's what you want to get.
Sure. Thank you so much for that clarity, Warren. Now to the fear part. Why are we so afraid? So in my early 20s, as a young Christian, I always, believed that I would never face any challenges because I'm a Christian. So I'm the chosen. I'm set apart. So I'm not going to experience any challenges. So imagine my shock when I had to face deep challenges. I couldn't stand God because I felt maybe, he either resented me for something. I wasn't Christian enough. My faith was not big enough. So that was the whole idea that I had about challenges, and it made me so afraid of challenges because often I believed that I was on my own. I was there because I was being punished, or I was there because I was not following the right rules of Christianity. That's often the mindset of so many people. But there are people like myself now who know better. Now I know better. I know that challenges are a part of life. That's just how it is. But it doesn't take away the fact that so many of us are still so afraid of these challenges because we don't know what the outcome will be. Why, Warren, do you think we are afraid of challenges and storms? And why do you think that some people choose to be in denial or very secretive of their challenging seasons?
Beautiful question. So let's start with why we sometimes feel that as Christians, we should be blessed.
Yes.
There is a time in the scriptures where God says it's a condition. And it was specifically to the nation of Israel. So when he was establishing the nation of Israel, he said to them, if you obey me, I will bless you like you cannot believe.
Sure.
So you will live long, you will have no diseases, all of your animals will be disease-free, no one in the entire nation will be barren, will not be able to bear children.
Kids.
None of your flocks will be barren, but you will multiply and I will give you everything. But it's a condition. What's the condition?
What's the condition?
It was the first part. If you obey me. So God gives a very specific set of instructions. He says, just follow these, but he's serious about it. If you do, you'll be blessed. And that's what everybody thinks. So now we take that mindset and we say, now as a Christian, if I obey God, he's going to bless me. The problem is you're not Israel. The problem is the law was not given to you.
True.
And the problem is they couldn't do it. That was the whole point. That's why God gave it, to show you can't be perfect. And the point of that was to then direct us to the one who is perfect, who just so happens to be the counselor. Okay. So now that's that part. Now let's move forward.
Okay.
Now let's go and look at what should our expectation be. Our expectation now should be based on what happened in the New Testament, specifically to the disciples and to those that follow, to the early Christians. So let's have a look at the disciples. Every single one of them dead.
Sure.
How big are your problems? They died.
Small.
Their problem is not that they died naturally. Their problem was that they were killed because they were Christians.
Sure.
So because they were following after Christ, it brought on the biggest possible problem, which was death.
You.
Every one of them, except John. Only one who escaped. But then Paul the apostle, who wasn't part of the disciples, the original 12, he also died because he was a Christian. So you can put him in as 12 out of 12. So it's done. So now, if you look at what the New Testament says, it says that as Christians, we're going to face problems. So there's a confusion. So between, I'm supposed to be blessed, but now I've got problems. So then I'm not good enough. So we can scrap that. That's not how it works. And then the second part of that is on not a spiritual level, but on a personal level. So your problems hit your emotions.
Sure.
And we're not good with dealing with emotional things. So when I have to share what is hurting me, I don't like sharing it. And denial is a very long river in Egypt. It's the longest river in the world.
Yeah.
So when we are on that river, we just keep going. And I can just ignore it for as long as I possibly can. Because if I don't think it exists, then maybe it doesn't. And I can pretend that it's just going to go away. So that's part of why we don't like speaking about the issues that we have.
Sure. That is deep. And I relate to that depth, Warren, because it's true for me. It's true for so many people. I remember this one time you and I were having a chat in the bakkie. We always have these deep conversations in the bakkie, the bakkie conversations. And I was telling you that when I look back at my challenges in the past and I look at where I am now, it's impossible. It's impossible for me to have done that, according to my own abilities, etc., etc. Truly, there has always been a force. There's always been God there directing me and helping me out of some of the most difficult situations in my own life. And we call it, there's this thing, my friend Zian and I, we call it God's hand. In economics, it's called the invisible hand. So that's God's hand to us, where he comes in and he directs us to the right places from our own challenges. And I find that so many people struggle with this. We struggle to understand that at times, even when we are in these difficult situations, that God is there with us to help us through the storms. So with that said, how important is it for us to understand that even in the storm that we are in, it is for his purpose?
From my perspective, and this is my personal perspective, obviously as a minister and a Christian,
Yes.
without God's purpose in that, I don't have any purpose.
Yeah.
Then it's pain, it's suffering, it's regret,
Anxiety.
it is the depth of despair, it's confusion, it's chaos. It's just every bad thing that you can imagine. But as soon as you add God into the picture, then it just changes. Because it doesn't matter how bad it is, God is going to use it. You don't know how,
Sure.
but that's what God, and it's not just what God promises. It's not that it's like this fake pie in the sky stuff. He's done it. Like, how many times? So throughout the scripture, that's the story. It's people facing storms, and that's what I love about it. They are facing storms that are so much bigger than what you're facing right now.
Sure.
But you read that story and like, it's a nice story. I must make a Sunday school lesson on it, And I must tell my children and friends. But what is the essence of it? The essence of it is that their problem was much bigger than yours.
Sure.
And God got them through that. And they trusted him for that.
Yeah.
And now it's asking, so what are you going to do? Are you able to trust him for that? And do you believe that God is going to use your problem, your weakness, your trial, whatever, your challenge that you're facing now, and he's going to bring something incredible out of it?
I love that, Warren, and I want us to conclude with that particular point. How important, just to give comfort to so many people, including myself, including everyone else probably
And
in this
me.
room, and you.
Me.
How important is it for us to trust? I love that part. To trust that God is greater than our fears and our challenges.
God is greater than any problem you could face.
Sure.
That's the fact. But it's not your feeling. And that's the problem.
Facts versus feelings.
So our emotions are going to drive, and it's going to determine our mood. It's going to determine our outlook. It's going to determine to a large degree the decisions that we make because of it. And it's all because of our emotions. But that's not God's fact. So when we spend time spending more time on God's promises and on his truth and on those facts, more time than us dwelling and talking about our problems and how bad it is and how negative it is and how terrible it is, we spend so much time there and so little time here. So if we're going to spend more time there with God, what's going to happen is that God's facts, God's truth, are then going to start having an impact on our feelings. And then we're going to be like, you know what? That's actually stupid. Obviously, God is bigger than my problem right now. And I might feel that it's massive, but it's obviously not bigger or more powerful than God. And that's when our emotions start moving over to saying, I can have joy in the middle of my storm.
Yeah.
And I can thank God because he's going to use it.